Okay, so Logpoint, you have fairly recently introduced, I think, 2 new partner programs. And before we discuss those in a bit more detail, it would just be good to understand the background to it, whether it's things going on within the cybersecurity space and or the channel. What's the thinking behind the the reason for these 2 new programs, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Of course, if I a little bit expand on what's kind of happening out there in the market, especially in the space of cybersecurity, I don't think there has ever been a better timing to partner with Logpoint, because what we're seeing right now is cybersecurity is one of the hot boardroom topics, and organizations, especially let's say between 500 to 5,000 employees, where cybersecurity or managing kind of business risk has been traditionally nice to have, is becoming really a must-have due to increased regulations and the sophistication of the adversaries who are also targeting this type of organization. So that's kind of where we see the biggest demand coming from. And then, of course, to kind of allow us to capture that opportunity together with the ecosystem that we have, we introduced 2 programs to kind of manage the 2 distinctive ways those customers do want to acquire solutions. The one being channel program, where you kind of have more traditional reselling add-on services type of model. And then the other part is what we call the MSSP program, where managed security services providers do actually provide the full service technology processes and people to provide the outcomes that these customers require.
Yeah, so you outlined the two new programs. Well, sorry, you've mentioned the names of them. So perhaps it'd be good to understand each of them in a bit more detail. So if we can start maybe with the MSSPs. So what is the proposition, if you like, you are offering to MSSPs?
Absolutely. So MSSPs are one of the key strategic areas we're heavily focusing. So it's not just a program that's catering for the commercial aspects, how to partner with Logpoint. It actually is fundamentally start from the strategy that we have set ourselves to do, becoming the best partner to these organizations. So it all starts from the product, where we are actually, established a community of MSSPs, where we better try to understand the challenges they have, which we can take on board into how we're building our product and the roadmap moving forward. Because we see that, customers are really looking outcomes. They're not buying tools just to have tools, but they actually are seeking advice from the experts to kind of provide the meaningful outcomes. And that's where we believe MSSPs are uniquely positioned. So apart from how we are gearing towards having the best product for the MSSPs to kind of manage the complexity that they have to scale the service they can deliver, we've also introduced as part of the MSSP program kind of a commercial journey to make it very easy for them to kind of get going with Logpoint. So there's kind of multiple different steps that we allow MSSPs to take to kind of get going and then to expand that relationship with Logpoint. And kind of the starting point, what we typically recommend is something that we call the MSSP Starter Pack, which is really geared towards kind of establishing a scalable foundation, enabling the people, building a platform, which then allows them to take the next step, which is kind of take that offering out to the market, to the customers. So that's kind of how we've been thinking about this program, and that's how we've taken that out. And that program entails a lot of flexibility in terms of, how to manage the commercials depending on what type of projects and engagements those MSSPs are looking at doing with their respective customers. So there's customer specific or project specific pricing that's available. But then we also allow them to do like pay as you go, where they can simply, let's say, provide service to multiple customers, and then they get billed accordingly after they've been using the software. And in terms of what we really see our MSSPs loving about how we set ourselves to do this is the predictability of the pricing. Because one of the key things for them is, being able to provide a scalable service while managing the profitability at the same time. So what we've designed is a commercial model that offers and caters for that predictability in order for them to plan their business moving forward.
Okay, so that's the sort of the outline of the MSSP program, and then there's also, I think, a channel partner program. So how does that differ? What else, what are you doing there for the, as you say, the more traditional, value-added resellers, I guess?
Yeah. So the channel part is kind of directed for the partners who see themselves being resellers of our technology, or potentially find themselves advising and providing some add-on services towards those customers, and potentially integrating that to fit what the customer is looking for. So what we really strive to do here is to remove friction, to have a simple, predictable program that allows these customers more to focus on winning the business rather than worrying about dealing with the vendor. And that's where I think that we managed to do a relatively good job. What this program also rewards partners for is that when they enable their people, when they grow in their business, it allows them to move on the different ladders that we have, silver and gold, to earn even more rewards out of the program that Logpoint offers. We've also made sure that we are kind of in a position to acknowledge the partners who are finding opportunities and do want to collaborate with Logpoint. So as part of the program, we also introduced a deal registration process, which is trying to encourage the partners to flag the opportunities they see in the market early enough, so we find ourselves in the best possible position to support them through the engagement, while adding the necessary level of protection to make sure that they're well guarded against anybody else who might be joining the race later down the line. Lastly, but not least, we are also introduced a set of value-add services. So what do I mean by this is that we have different type of service offerings provided by Logpoint, which we allow our partners to resell or complement their own delivery. And these go from having extended support, providing as a service experience, taking responsibility of managing the Logpoint platform, but also kind of catering for delivering more value as part of an offering we call the extended success. And all these things are geared towards allowing our channel partners to kind of capture a higher degree the share of wallet from customers, increasing average sales size, but also to make sure that the customers are getting the most out of their investment in order for us to increase the lifetime value of those customers.
And I'm just wondering, the profile of your channel. One assumes that it's been changing in recent times, so you're getting more MSSPs and less traditional resellers, etc. Is that right in your case? What's the sort of balance at the moment, and do you anticipate it going further to sort of the as a service model, or just your thoughts, I suppose, on that?
So this is kind of driven by the customers, right? So we see that in different markets there is a difference in the tendency how customers do want to buy. Especially in the Nordics, we see that there is potentially more preference on as a service type of thing. But then on the other markets, customers really see that it should be part of the core competence. They want us to manage these things themselves. So we think that, of course, there is a place for both of these motions. And we definitely see that there is a growth potential in both of these areas. And we do recognize the importance of having both of these things. But the beauty of this program is really like, let's say you've been a Logpoint partner for quite some time in a channel type of a relationship. What the program allows you to do is, if you see your business more and more moving towards kind of providing as a service type of delivery, the program allows you to evolve your relationship with Logpoint as your strategy is moving forward. So it's not exclusive one or another, but it's trying to offer a really great way for the partners to evolve their business with Logpoint in terms of where the strategy might be heading towards.
I guess it's pretty early days, but I suspect you had conversations before you launched this with partners to to sound them out a bit. So what sort of feedback have you had, whether it was in discussing your ideas beforehand or since the launch? What's been the feedback?
Yeah. So of course, before we came up with the program, we engaged with a lot of partners, MSSPs, to make sure that what we came up with is something that really resonates within the market. And so far, I think we've heard kind of two type of feedback. So first of all, it all boils down to the strategy that we have as an organization, which direction we're heading towards, what's the value proposition. And that has been very well received. So everybody understands that there is a great opportunity out there, which means that then the means of how to capitalize that opportunity, that's the program. We've heard that, it's really helping to remove the friction, increasing the ease of doing business, more focusing on winning the business, planning for predictability, than kind of, being worried about, how am I going to end up with dealing with the vendor. So we really try to make it simple and transparent. On the MSSP side, it's similar thing. They really love the predictability of our commercial model, because that's kind of the one thing that allows them to better plan for their business and profitability when they are dealing with their customers. So early days, but initially very encouraging and positive feedback with a lot of excitement.
And more generally, cybersecurity has been, I suspect, one of, if not the biggest opportunity for the channel, because everybody is terrified, rightly, I guess, or terrified or aware of the consequences of things going wrong within their IT infrastructure. So is it fair to say that you think cybersecurity will continue to be one of the biggest, if not biggest, opportunities for the channel? And I'm also wondering, we're on the beginning, I guess, of the AI explosion everyone's talking about, and that presumably is going to add a whole new level of complexity, opportunities, but also obviously threats from the bad actors. So just your thoughts, I suppose, as to how big an opportunity cybersecurity is into the future, bearing in mind in particular, AI impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's no reason to believe that investments in cyber would be declining. Quite the contrary. And this is driven by multiple factors, the regulatory compliance in different countries, but also kind of the, let's say, attack as a service increasing all the time. So these are kind of certain things that are making customers very concerned that, how are we ready? How are we protected? How can we continue to operate our business and safeguard ourselves? So I think that, that trend will continue moving forward. And then, interestingly enough, what you mentioned, artificial intelligence is one of the hot topics. And I guess everybody's asking themselves, where to use it, where does it work, where doesn't it necessarily work? And this is, of course, the question that we've been asking ourselves as well. and we're heavily exploring, how do we kind of make AI work in a way that really moves the needle for our customers. So one of these specific areas kind of where we are exploring, and we strongly believe that artificial intelligence can help, is on the response side. So once you detect something, then there's actually, a whole host of things that organization needs to manage as part of that response process. How do they inform their internal stakeholders? How do they explain inside the organization that, what might be going on for people to understand? Okay. And this is kind of the part where we believe quick things and gains can be made through applying artificial intelligence to provide the right information in the right context for the people to respond and to operate. Now, beyond artificial intelligence, we're also looking into different type of techniques and methodologies. How do we help organizations to detect when there's something going on? A great example of something like that might be Akira, that most of the folks might be aware of, which is kind of an example of a sophisticated attack that is kind of leveraging the normal procedures and processes of the operating system. So it's very difficult to kind of detect that there's something going on because it looks like, there's normal processes going on as we speak. So there we're looking at kind of applying more like a statistical type of behavior analysis to allow us to kind of sequence those different effects once we understand how the attack is moving forward. And that allows us to then help organizations to better detect these different type of attacks when they're getting more and more complicated. So I think it's going to be a combination, and we're really focused on finding the right combination that's going to help our customers to become more successful.
And maybe just in finishing, I mean, there's a lot of cybersecurity solutions out there covering, different solutions, different sort of segments. But are there any one or two bits of advice you might give to a channel organization as they're, I suspect most of them have some kind of cybersecurity portfolio already, so it's not a question of how to start one, it's more how to refine what you've already got, and what, particularly when evaluating potential, additions to their portfolio, what kind of things should they be looking for, whether it's from the solution itself or, the vendor behind it, what sort of things should they be, hearing, to give them, peace of mind that they're making a good decision, I suppose.
No, that's a really great question, and I think the answer lies somewhere how the buying behavior of customers is changing. So a couple of years ago, there was a lot of requests from customers that were highlighting, technical functionality. But what we see more and more, and this is also what we hear from our partners and MSSPs, is that customers are seeking out for outcomes, okay? They're not buying technology just to be able to manage technology. They buy technology in order to protect themselves and provide certain security outcomes. So they are really reaching out to the experts in this field to get the help and the understanding how to best manage against the risks that they're concerned about. And with that respect, where we sit in this equation is that we see ourselves being somebody who is providing prescriptive security outcomes with superior ROI. And that's kind of based on a couple of tenets, our ability to manage the quality of data, because the quality of data is kind of the foundation of somebody being able to detect and to respond and start adding, level of automation in there to allow the scalability. And then, of course, depending on in which type of industry the customer operates, what type of regulatory compliance they have, there might be different means how they want to deploy this capability. They might want to have it in their own data center or the private cloud. They might want to buy it as a service. So you need to be able to accommodate all these different type of vehicles of delivering that capability based on what the customer wants. And then, at the end of the day, everybody likes predictability, right? They want predictable pricing, transparent pricing, easy to understand, so they can budget and anticipate how that's going to be. And maybe lastly, because we are European, and especially in Europe, that is the home market of Logpoint, we're not subject to foreign surveillance acts or anything like that, being a European player. So we truly understand the requirements for data sovereignty in different European countries that really make us a good partner for organizations that care about these things.
Okay, it's been lovely to chat, and thanks very much for explaining the new partner programs and talking more generally as to some of the trends and topics in the cybersecurity industry. Antti, really appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much.